Welcome to the Spice Drawer. Today we're cooking the Indian style meat curry. I say meat because you can use any type of meat. I'm using venison shoulder today, which I just happen to have, but you would use gravy beef, chuck steak, lamb shoulder, any lesser cut of meat really that can stand a long cooking time. We've got tomatoes, onion, 3 cloves of garlic, ginger, obviously the Spice Drawer curry mix. We're also going to make a raita, which we put cucumber into yogurt with a raita mix that I sell separately. So we'll get on to making the curry now. When you're cooking a curry, you can use ghee or olive oil. In this instance I'm going to use ghee. It's simply clarified butter. It's hard like that, and we just scoop it out, probably about 2 tablespoons, enough to cover the bottom of the pan. You can get out. It's quite difficult, but it's worth it. I've finally chopped the onions and the 3 cloves of garlic. So once your ghee's melted or your olive oil's warmed up, we can pop those in. Hear it sizzle. It's perfect. Now I grate the ginger because I think it's the easiest way to get it finely chopped. It's quite difficult to, well, I find it quite difficult to finely chop ginger. You don't want a big chunk of ginger in your meal. Smells good already. We fry this off for about 5 minutes, just so it goes translucent but doesn't brown. So you do need to keep an eye on it. You may even need to turn the heat down if it's cooking a bit quickly, but yeah, a few minutes. Now it's time to add the spice mix. So we just unwrap it. All the recipe details are on the back, as you would have discovered. Be careful you don't get the staples in. And tip it in to your onions and garlic mixture. And just stir it round, and that needs to cook off for a few minutes. You can tell it starts getting fragrant, more fragrant. It already smells pretty good. That's about 2 minutes and they're starting to look cooked. It is very important to fry off your spices because it brings out the flavour. If you don't, it can be powdery and you don't get the full impact of the beautiful flavours. Now it's time to add the meat, chopped up into cubes. It's not necessary to brown the meat. I just cover it with the spice mix and the onion mix, just until it's sort of all coming together. Then we just cover it with some water. Really depends on the size of your pan. It's probably, that's 1 cup, probably needs a bit more. So about nearly 2 cups of water there. Now we just let that come to the boil and we simmer it for about 20 minutes, and then we're ready for the next step. That gives me just enough time for a glass of wine. This has been simmering away for 20 minutes. It's starting to look like a curry. Now it's time to add the can of chopped tomatoes. You could use puree, something that's sort of mushed up so it just blends in together. We'll add the curry leaves. This is the other little packet. They're dried curry leaves. Just put them in whole. Bit of salt. There's no salt in my packets, in the curry packets, because I tend to over salt things. I like it salty. So you add as much as you like, and also some chilli. Again, there's no chilli in this one. I'm using dried chili. This is firepower. But you could also use fresh chilies chopped up, de-seeded if you like, if you don't like too much heat. It's all a matter of preference. Now we pop the lid on and let it simmer away for an hour. Easy. In the meantime, you can prepare your Raita. If you have the Raita mix, I recommend it. It's beautiful with it. It's 200 grams of natural yogurt. Now we pop that in a reasonable sized bowl, and we need to whisk it. It just takes the setting away. So whisk it until it looks like whipped cream. Doesn't require too much. And to that we add the Raita mix powder. That's got all the yummy stuff in it. Whisk that through. And to that we simply just add a small cucumber, or about that much cucumber, peeled, halved and de-seeded. Simply run your teaspoon down the middle. Doesn't matter if there's a few left over. Chop that up finely and add it to the yogurt mix. It's good to do that while the curry's cooking because it gives it time to all meld together and it just tastes better. Okay, cucumber in. Mix it all together. It's a nice cooling part to the curry, and it's all about different flavours, different textures, different warmths. You know, this is cool, curry's hot, and just let that sit. Right, after about 15 minutes I've moved it to a lower heat because we just want to cook it slowly. We want to make sure nothing sticks. So give it a stir, you know, every 15 minutes or so, and just make sure it's bubbling away okay. Pop the lid back on and keep going. That's been simmering for about an hour. It's starting to all come together. It's time to test for seasoning. Do you need a little bit more salt or a little bit more chili? Just give it a... Needs a bit more salt. Now salt is important as it brings out the flavour of the spices. If there's no salt in there, the spices tend to be a little bit flat. And another pinch of chili for good measure, because I love it. Give it a stir. Now it's time to just let it reduce. Depends on how much liquid's in there, what type of meat you've got, but I'd let that probably reduce for about 20 minutes or so till it comes together, thickens up, and the meat is tender. Once you start reducing it and taking the lid off, it's time to get the rice ready. I've got mine on. The way I cook it, everybody's got their own way. I go 1 cup of rice to 2 cups of cold water, a bit of salt on a low heat, bring it up to the boil. It's starting to simmer away there now. Turn it off, lid on, and let it sit until the curry's ready. How simple is that? The curry's reduced. You can reduce it to as thick or as thin as you like. That's about perfect for me. The rice is cooked, everything's ready to go. Now it's time to serve. Just some rice. Now this curry is one that I've cooked for many years, so there's a lot of love in it. It's my favourite curry and I hope you enjoy it too. For more information and more recipes, please log on to thespicedrawer.com.au, and I hope you loving this curry, so please enjoy. Enjoy it as much as I do. There's a lot of